Hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's start. The first time my parents looked at me that night, they didn't recognize me. They were sitting in the second row of the auditorium, close enough to be seen, far enough to feel safe. My mother had her hands folded tightly in her lap. My father leaned forward with his elbows on his knees, eyes locked on the stage, the way he always looked when something mattered. They thought they were there for my brother. They didn't know my name was printed on the last page of the program. They didn't know I was standing behind the curtain, 10 steps from the podium, holding a microphone that had already been tested, already warmed, already waiting for me. And they definitely didn't know that the man about to introduce me had practiced my name 3 times because he didn't want to get it wrong in front of 2,000 people. My name is Evan Carter. I'm 28 years old. And 4 years earlier, my father told me, without raising his voice, without hesitation, that I was not worth the investment. Before I go any further, if you enjoy real, slow, honest stories like this, no music tricks, no fake villains, go ahead and like the video. Subscribe if you want more, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from or what time it is right now. I read those late at night. It makes this feel less lonely. Now let me take you back to the beginning. 4 years earlier, February 12th. I remember the date because it was the same day my rent was due, and I'd already done the math in my head 3 times to make sure I could afford dinner. It was a Tuesday. Cold. Dark by 5:30. My parents asked me to come over for what my mother called a practical conversation. That phrase should have warned me. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd learned multiplication, where I'd written college applications with a borrowed laptop. My father had a yellow legal pad in front of him. My mother had a mug of tea she never drank from. My brother wasn't there. He rarely was. I told them I'd been accepted into the public policy program at State University. Not a reach school, not a dream school, a realistic one. I got partial aid, I said. If I work, I can manage most of it. My father nodded, flipped the page on his pad and said, "What's the total cost?" "About 14,000 a year after aid." He didn't react. He just drew a line under a column of numbers and said, "That doesn't make sense for us." For us. I felt my chest tighten. "I'm not asking for everything. I can—" "We've already committed resources elsewhere," he interrupted. My mother finally spoke. "Caleb's program is more competitive." There it was, said gently, carefully, like a diagnosis. I waited for the follow-up, for the reassurance, for something. Instead, my father leaned back and said the sentence that still replays in my head sometimes when I'm trying to sleep. "Evan, you're dependable. You're not exceptional. We have to invest where the return is highest." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because my brain couldn't process it yet. "So you're saying you'll help him, and not me?" My father met my eyes. Calm, certain. "You're not worth the investment." My mother looked down at her mug. That was it. No shouting, no tears, no apology. Just a decision. Looking back, that moment wasn't the beginning. It was confirmation. Favoritism in our house was never loud. It was quiet, organized, justified. When Caleb turned 16, he got a new car because he'd earned it. When I turned 18, I got the old one because it still runs. Family vacations were scheduled around his internships. My work schedule was flexible. At Christmas, his gifts were wrapped individually. Mine were combined into one box. On social media, my parents posted photos of him in cap and gown. When I graduated community college, my mother said, "Let's take pictures later." I found the proof by accident. I was home alone, using the family computer to print a form. An email inbox was open. Subject line, "Caleb, tuition breakdown." There were spreadsheets, notes, a line that said, Evan is self-sufficient. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I closed the laptop and went to my shift. That was the night something inside me went quiet. I stopped asking. The decision wasn't dramatic. It was practical. If no one was going to bet on me, I would. I enrolled part-time, applied for every scholarship I could find. I kept a spreadsheet titled Survival. I worked mornings at a grocery store, $13.25 an hour. Nights cleaning office buildings on campus, $15 flat, no benefits. Weekends delivering food when my car cooperated. My schedule looked like this: 4:45 a.m., alarm, 6 to 10 grocery shift classes, until 3:05 to 11 janitorial shift midnight. Study until I couldn't focus. Rent was $480 for a room with a door that didn't fully close. Heat worked when it felt like it. I skipped holidays, missed birthdays, ate a lot of eggs and rice. There were nights I didn't speak to anyone. The breaking point came during finals week. I was in the library, staring at a statistics problem that wouldn't make sense. My vision blurred. I put my head down. I woke up to a security guard tapping my shoulder. "You can't sleep here," he said. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried silently so no one would hear. Then I washed my face and went back to work. Professor Martin noticed me before I noticed myself. He taught policy analysis, late 50s, never rushed. One night he asked why I never raised my hand. "I don't want to waste time," I said. He looked at me and said, "You're wasting visibility." A week later, he handed me an application for a national fellowship. Acceptance rate, 2.7%. "I can't afford to go if I get in," I said. He smiled. "Let me help you be seen." I borrowed a blazer. A friend lent me bus money. Another bought me lunch the day of the interview. I walked into that room, shaking. 3 months later, I got the email. Selected, full funding, speaking role at national ceremony. I didn't tell my parents. Here's the part they didn't expect. The ceremony was held at the same civic center where my brother's program hosted events. Same building, same city. My parents attended for him. My brother saw my name on the rehearsal list. He called me. "Why didn't you say anything?" I said, "You didn't ask." 2 days later, my father called. "I don't remember saying those things," he said. "We always supported you." I listened. Then I said, "You'll hear it when everyone else does." Quick pause. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to protect you, type "same" in the comments. I want you to see how many of us there are. Backstage, I adjusted the borrowed suit. It fit better than I expected. I wasn't angry. I was free. When my name was announced, the room went silent. I saw my mother's hand freeze mid-clap. My father leaned forward. I walked to the podium. "I was once told I wasn't worth the investment," I said, not naming anyone, not blaming. I learned to believe in myself. 2,000 people stood. Afterward, my parents waited near the exit. They apologized. I accepted it. But I didn't rewind my life for it. Now I live in a small apartment in a new city, new job, quiet mornings. Peace is better than validation. Freedom isn't given. It's earned.